So I somehow managed to solo queue to Eternity and Marvel Rivals, and honestly, it was quite the experience. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all the information, tips, tricks, whatever I learned throughout this journey, in the hopes that you'll also be able to hit this rank. But without further ado, let's dive straight in. Now I just want to start off by saying that I believe anybody can actually reach this rank, with of course time and dedication. Now I will say I feel like I got a quote-unquote jumpstart because I did have a background in other various games like Overwatch, Valorant, or any tactical shooters. Having some sort of knowledge or backgrounds from those other various games will definitely help you improve and give you a way better understanding. Now I will say it's pretty self-explanatory that solo queuing is in no way, shape, or form really optimal for ranking up. It's in your best interest to try to find a duo or a trio with the similar mindset, or even a 6-stack if you want to go to the extreme. So how did I climb in the lower ranks? And what I view as the lower ranks is anything under diamond. So of course that's bronze, silver, gold, and plat. Now I'm in no way, shape, or form insane at this game, but in the lower ranks, because I was a duelist in other games, I focused on playing a duelist character, and of course flexing to other roles if need be, because honestly your ego is the only thing that's going to be holding you back from actually ranking up. So the characters I stuck to for this season was Hawkeye and Winter Soldier. Now the lower ranks were pretty easy to climb out of. All you really need to be doing is focusing on yourself at this rank. Getting kills, staying alive, securing picks, and taking advantage of every opportunity is essential for climbing out of bronze. And the team compositions of bronze don't really matter. And this trend of team composition not really mattering goes until about the rank of plat. Once I hit plat, I was still able to pick Hawkeye or Winter Soldier. Those two heroes completely let me carry my games into diamond. Now you do have to understand my knowledge and background from other various games like Overwatch, for example. I already understood how to optimally position myself, when and where to use my ultimate or abilities, and how to easily exploit my enemy's weaknesses. Now, if you don't have that knowledge, it's completely fine. Check out some of my other masterclasses where I give you a better and deeper understanding. Then moving into the rank of Diamond, where bans are first introduced, this becomes a little bit more interesting. And Diamond is one of the first places that egos become a major factor. And what I mean by that is, for the most part, you get insta-locking DPS players that refuse to swap even if they go 0-20. Because even if they go 0-20, they still feel like they're doing a lot better than what you would ever do, which honestly, I don't really understand. And because I'm sort of a nicer person, I always opt to fill. Now, I'm not saying this is a very good strategy, but being able to fill to what your team needs is a skill that I find rather essential. I lost a little bit of track, but I just want to quickly circle back around to the ban system. Players finally understood that Winter Soldier was very strong. So one of those characters that I like to play was banned, so I couldn't play him anymore. And for the most part, if people see me picking Hawkeye on my team, my teammates end up flaming me before the round even starts. And honestly, I'm not one of those people that is going to sit there to complaining, so I end up swapping. Now this next part might seem a little bit egotistical, but I know if I pick Hawkeye, I can get a lot of entry picks right off the get-go and make those people complaining easily shut up. But still, I don't want to deal with and listen to all the complaining, so I fill anyways. Now circling back around, you might be thinking, what heroes did I choose to fill to? If I'm filling to the role of strategist, I want to pick a hero that not a lot of people play. That of course was until recently. And I wanted a hero that was, decently mobile and could have a lot of value with his utility besides his ultimate. Sorry to interrupt your video. I just want to quickly remind you about one of my long-term partners, and that's none other than Control. And no, I wasn't paid to say this message. I just generally enjoy their product. They have things like protein shakes, cookies, and even protein bars, and they honestly are amazing. And if you think I'm lying about that, go ahead and try it for yourself by either scanning the QR code on screen or using the link in the description, and it'll take you straight over to the website. I highly encourage you to try out their peanut butter pieces cookies. Seriously, they're amazing. Or their peanut butter s'mores protein bars. I'm usually not the biggest protein bar fan. Usually they taste like chalk, but honestly, this one's amazing. And if you are looking to buy some, do me a favor and use the discount code DUCK at checkout to save 10% on your order. But anyways, back to the video. So that hero was none other than Loki. Now you might be thinking, why Loki? Well, I picked Loki for one specific reason, and that's his regeneration domain ability. And you might be thinking, cool, what is that? Basically, if you see that green circle around Loki clones, it lasts for 5 seconds. That, of course, you destroy it first, but basically it converts all incoming damage into healing. Now, I found this ability as useful as a Luna Snow's ultimate. Now, this is how I viewed it as. You essentially got the same amount of impact or value out of Loki's regeneration domains as you would a Luna Snow ultimate, having the ability to quickly heal up teammates ultimates, that of course if the domain isn't broken, and being able to save yourself from a ton of ultimates. Yes, you can use Loki's regeneration domain to block ultimates such as Iron Man, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, and so on. Now, because I found it as useful as a Lunastone ultimate, you kinda also have to use it like a Lunastone ultimate in a way, only using it when it's absolutely necessary. But of course, there's always different circumstances or situations where you need to use it before, which is perfectly fine. I'll have a updated Loki guide coming out very soon. Now, believe it or not, I found myself easily carrying games as Loki, just because of the sheer amount of healing and survivability I was giving to my team. So if you're looking to fill to a strategist character and all of your mains are picked, I highly encourage you to pick up Loki. Now, do be warned, he does take some, micromanaging or macromanaging, moving your clones around, predicting when enemies are going to use certain abilities that are going to be dealing a ton of damage, and you really have to understand when, where, and how to use the domain ability to get the maximum potential. Then moving on and filling for their Vanguard role, if there wasn't anyone hovering or selecting Magneto, and I already had a off tank, for example, maybe The Thing, Penny Parker, Hulk, or any of these other off tanks, then I would probably pick Magneto. Because currently in this meta, you need to have a Magneto on your team, whether you want to believe it or not. This character can single-handedly carry a game because he does a ton of damage with his recent changes. His ultimate is extremely good for shutting down other ultimates or just dealing a ton of damage quickly. He can also easily shield teammates if they're about to get doved or, end up getting eliminated or anything like that. But I will say, if you're filling to a Vanguard and you don't know how to play the role of a Vanguard or a tank, it can be extremely difficult. And you might be asking, why? Well, you need to understand a lot of basic rules as a Vanguard. Things like taking space, maintaining pressure, things like that. If you're not doing any of that as a Vanguard, it's going to be extremely taxing on your team. So if you want to learn all the basic rules of being a Vanguard, make sure to click top right for my entire masterclass on playing a Vanguard. It quite literally teaches you everything, and over 60,000 people also agree with that. So trust me, if you don't know how to Vanguard, it's definitely worth your time. Now let's move past all this filling for different roles and playing in the rank of Diamond. Now, for the most part, playing in Diamonds was rather easy. If I picked a duelist and then two others picked duelists, I would just fill, because I rather fill than listen to arguing for at least a minute. Then for Grandmaster, it was relatively the same as Diamond. Filling for the team when necessary, then swapping to a duelist if I feel like our team isn't doing the best. And for the most part, I could easily carry games still to get us the win. And you might be thinking I went through those ranks pretty quickly. Well, yes, that is true, but that's because we come to the rank of Celestial. And let me tell you, Celestial is nothing like I thought. I thought because it's the rank essentially before top 500, you have players playing to win, playing for your team, and really communicating with one another. And oh boy, was I wrong. Let me tell you, I have never seen players with the biggest egos in my entire life in any game before than I've made it to Celestial and Marvel Rivals. I'm not really sure why people have such egos. You only made it to Celestial. I feel like you should only develop this ego if you hit top 500, but for me, personally speaking, I don't think you should have an ego at all. If you do, it's kind of sad. And something that I also found rather interesting is that through Bronze to all the way up to Plat, no one's communicating. I mean, that makes sense. You don't need a whole lot communicating in those ranks, but you would think that, in Diamond and up, communicating becomes a big part. Let me tell you, there's no communicating whatsoever. Even in Celestial, it's very rare that you find players actually communicating to one another. Now, I'm not really sure why. Because of all my experience in past games, when you communicate and focus targets, the games just get so much easier, even if you are solo queuing. With that being said, there's two kind of conclusions I came to when I thought about this. One of those things is your ego's too big, you think you're better than everybody else, and you feel like any communication you say is just wasted energy. Sure, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Sure, I guess. It's just really odd to me that you're trying to win, but you don't talk to one another. And my second conclusion is that you just don't know how to genuinely talk to one another. I don't know how. All you literally have to do is say words. If your team has the same goal in mind, and that is, winning the game, then it should be relatively easy to communicate to one another. But again, I don't know what goes on inside of these people's minds. Now, circling back around to this ego thing I was talking about, I've never seen people insta-lock 4 or 5 DPS so fast. It gives me flashbacks of like gold and plat players insta-locking their favorite character because they think they're better than everyone else. But these people will sit here insta-locking their 4 DPS, going 0 and 12, 0 and 13, maybe even 0-14 and still refusing to swap. I don't understand why you won't swap. Is it because you made it to Celestial with that specific character and feel like you're the best player in the world? Now, this isn't supposed to be like a major rant, although it kind of seems like it. It's just me trying to genuinely understand why this is kind of happening. Now, that's besides the point. Besides all the ego-fueled players, and some players honestly not deserving this rank whatsoever, for the most part, I found myself gravitating towards Loki most of the time, but if absolutely necessary, I would whip out the Hawkeye and honestly just ruin people's days because they still don't understand how strong Hawkeye can actually be. Then when it came to the final match for Eternity, the first thing I did when I hopped into that match was of course open my mic and give the team a morale boost. And that morale boost was simply that if we won this match, I would give each and every one of you a solid kiss on the cheek. And with that, believe it or not, my team was fired up for some reason. Now, I'm not really sure why. I think it's because people in Celestial long for physical touch, but that's just me. But besides a simple morale boost, of course I picked Loki, and because players in Celestial 1 and Eternity still don't understand the power of Loki, I was truly able to completely out-heal any of the enemies on the other team, and I don't think we ever lost a single fight. So you might be sitting here waiting and wondering why this guy didn't say any tips or techniques. Well, that section was just explaining the journey. Now we come to the section where I give you all the tips and everything. So my first tip is when it comes to filling for different roles, the character that you're filling to, you should have a very good understanding of how that character operates. Whether that being knowing the ins and outs of every single ability, how to properly use said abilities, and so on. If you're filling to a role and picking a specific hero each time you have to fill, then you better have a good understanding of that character. If you don't, things are going to get ugly pretty fast. Whether that being misplaying, mistiming, or misusing your abilities, one of those mistakes could have a snowball effect on your entire team and you could just straight up lose your match. Now my next big tip is that whether you want to believe it or not, you have some sort of ego. Now I'm not saying egos are completely bad for you. In psychology, egos give you, some sort of self-confidence, and sometimes that allows you to perform a lot better, make better decisions, and so on. However, though, there is a difference. Typically in this game, from what I've seen in Marvel Rivals, is that players are insta-locking, picking, a specific character. They either go 0-12 or don't perform their role very well. And I'd be thinking, cool, but where's the ego part? Well, the ego part is that they don't end up swapping. They stay on that character. And what I can only assume and infer is that they still feel like they will do better than you on that said hero if they were to swap. Because of that, a lot of games are lost at the start because you not swapping indirectly affects the rest of your team's mentality. They get super frustrated, blaming you for losing, and you, the player that insta-locked, will always do some sort of rebuttal, and unfortunately this sort of criticism makes you deflect it and start blaming your supports or your vanguards instead, and making it seem like it's not your fault, where in reality it is. So letting go of that ego and dropping that type of mentality will easily allow you to climb some ranks. Trust me, all the way back in Overwatch 1, I completely thought that way, and as time went on, I learned the hard way. Now this also ties into the ego part, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, that there's always going to be someone better than you. For example, if you take a look at the first player on the leaderboard, literally the rank 1 spot, it always ends up changing between different players, meaning some players are better than one another, and that's literally just a fact. So instead of being that player that thinks, they're better than everybody else, you have to understand that there's always going to be someone better than you. For the most part, the difference between Celestial 1 and Eternity isn't a astronomical amount of skill or anything. I would say most of the players in Celestial 1 have mechanics on par with that of Eternity players. Now, I'm not saying all, but some. Again, the biggest thing that's affecting these players is literally just mentality. If you're positive to your teammates and your team, regardless of the scenario, it's always going to be a better outcome than being completely negative. Now, because I don't want to make this video too long, if you need help understanding how to play better as a vanguard or a duelist or even a strategist, I have an entire masterclass series on all 3 roles that will completely help you, all the way from basic teachings, understanding the role, to more advanced techniques, and let me tell you, it's helped a ton of people. But anyways, hopefully this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form, or maybe you found it rather entertaining. And if you did, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It just greatly helps me out. We're pushing for 20,000 subscribers, so maybe we can hit that goal quite soon. But regardless, I hope you have a great and safe day, and I'll catch you in the next one.